Okay, welcome to our live today. We are here. Got here a little bit early. We wanted to do it at 7:30, but we're just running a little bit behind. But hey, we're here and we're going to get this thing started. Okay, today, uh, first of all, welcome to the Grit Zone. My name is David. I am your host. Welcome to another episode of the Grit Zone. We're the industry talks grit. All right. Today we're talking about the future of surface preparation. Uh, think about this. Cars have changed a lot over the last 30 years. They've made they're made with aluminum, plastics, high strength steel, and advanced coatings. But many technicians are still preparing surfaces the same way they did years ago. Uh, Today, we'll discuss where the industry is headed and what new technology is changing and how technicians can stay ahead. Yeah. Um, and let's talk about our first topic. Surface preparation has changed. Years ago, most vehicles were made almost entirely of steel. Today, we work on high strength steel, aluminum, plastic bumper covers, carbon fiber, cosmetic materials, uh, and and that's where we are. And they're still working on more and more advanced materials. And as we continue to move forward, we have to practice and train and understand what these materials are going to do, how it's going to react, uh, what materials that's not going to work on those materials, and what will work well with them. Uh, each material requires a different approach. Surface preparation isn't just sanding anymore. It's understanding what you're sanding. Discussion. Let's have a discussion maybe. Let's talk about let's say um, let's have a discussion on, have you noticed more aluminum repairs? Okay, anybody possibly? I don't run across a whole lot of aluminum repairs, but when they do come around, we still have special equipment that we got to use to work aluminum. Um, it's one of those repairs that the industry is very heightened towards, because cars are you want to make cars a lot lighter, more cost efficient when it comes down to fuel efficiency. Aluminum plays a big part in that. It has a very strong material. Um, so, um, so yeah, we see that a lot. What materials do you work on the most? You know, um, I work on a lot of metal, strong steel. Um, I rarely do aluminum where I work. There's a lot of plastic parts that we work on. We work on a lot of carbon fiber. Not so much fiberglass. We don't do a whole lot of fiberglass, but I've worked in some places where fiberglass is pretty heightened, especially when we're working on the Corvettes. A lot of the, you know, uh, it's a give and take situation, basically. It's not always. It changes. It changes a lot. Yeah. So, it's another big question on, what's the biggest challenge? Um, what's the biggest challenge in your shop today? You know, that's pretty much a pretty good question sometimes. We want to, trying to understand, what are we dealing with? You know, um, um, that's always something, it just goes day by day. You never know what that next job is going to bring. Uh, but it's important that you understand your materials. And today we're focused on preparation. How do we prepare? Me as a painter, you know, we do a lot to make sure that that surface is ready. As far as contaminants, um, what's going to go on that panel, how long it needs to last. So preparation is a big part of that. Making sure everything's scuffed up properly, make sure it's cleaned thoroughly. Um, especially dealing with these different paints that they have today. You got to make sure that paint's going to give it the life cycle that it's going to need. You know, Especially when you're dealing with the weather and dealing with different elements and things of that nature. So, um, so all those things are pretty important. You know, I mean that's one of the things we really thought about when 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 I put together the Force Grid magnetic sanding block. Um, we thought about those things and how the system is going to connect with all these different materials. It's always a work in progress. I think it's coming along excellent. It's so far it works well with a lot of these materials that we're using in the automotive industry. So, um, then we come talking about technology. Is technology changing the industry? That's a good question. The biggest change is in paint. Paint's been around for some time now. We went from single stage to, I believe it was enamel and single stage. Um, we also went from two stage base coat, clear coat, base coat, clear coat, uh, single stage base coat, clear coat. Went from to waterborne. Waterborne is the next big thing. We switched over to waterborne, I say maybe 12, 13 years ago, I was introduced to waterborne. Um, First time I laid it down, it didn't not look like the paint at all. But once you can't allow it to do its process, it actually appeared exactly the way it needed to. Enjoyed working with it. But the very important thing, you got to work with waterborne. And one thing I did notice about using waterborne, and I had to have a conversation with one of the instructors who brought it to us. He said, we think water, we think safe, that, oh, it's water. Well, actually, you know, it's solvent has a better way of notifying the body that it's dangerous. Because when solvent and you're using solvent spray, if you don't have a mask on, you just can't breathe at all. Your body automatically indicates to you, oh, that's a solvent, and it's dangerous. Constantly you have to hold your breath. You have to, and you got to make sure you got your mask on. And if your mask isn't tight, you can automatically smell it. But the one thing that I noticed about waterborne don't give you that same effect. And I found that to be, I think that's a uh, uh, lot more of a warning sign because you don't know that you're breathing in harmful chemicals. Waterborne, because me just kind of speaking on the topic for just a minute. No expert at it at all. I'm not in the lab coats and doing the experimentations with all these materials. But one thing I just put in the back of my mind is when I'm using waterborne and my body can't indicate it, can't tell me that it's in the air. Um, I draw kind of a red flag with that. Tell me what you think about that. I mean, waterborne, and your body's made up of 75% water. I think it's going to absorb a lot faster than solvent. I think that, that could be a stronger health risk because of the indicator, because you can't indicate in the room that waterborne is present because it naturally adheres to you. without, because again, you smell solvent, you get an automatic reaction. Your body's like, stop. That's dangerous. But it's waterborne. You don't get that, and I think your body just kind of absorbs it quicker. Um, I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. Feel free to chat me up on that. What do you think about waterborne? Is it a safer, cleaner way? Uh, you know, or is it more like, if I can't detect it in the room and it's dangerous, is that more of a danger? You know, I mean, I've just always thought that. So I make sure that I'm completely masked up when I'm using water because my body that can't indicate danger of it. It says it on the can what it'll do to you. So it gives you your caution and your warning signs and things of that nature. So I just I've always had that in the back of my mind. But does anybody else think that way? You know, um, share your thoughts. It's kind of a good question. But I've always wanted to have a chance to have that conversation. So, but yeah. All right. Well, again, technology, is it changing the industry? Okay. The best change isn't paint. Okay. The biggest change is the paint. It's the tools. I think it's the tools is definitely changing the industry. We're getting better tools, we're getting better equipment. It's speeding up the process, which is great. You know, Today we have better abrasives. That's also awesome. I mean, and foam sanding disc. That's pretty cool. Dust extraction systems. That's always a plus when you have that inside your shop. Because health is number one. Health safety is number one, and you always want to make sure that that dust is it doesn't get into your lungs, it doesn't get into your system. It doesn't clog up your pores in your hands. That's just as important. Um, and so dust extraction systems are very, very, very good to have inside your shop. Digital paint mixing technology. That is wow. They got some really nice equipment out now. I mean, I've heard, and this guy, he's got in one of his shops. I can't recall, but they actually you don't even do your own. Uh, we mix by the toner. He has a system in his shop that makes all of his paints. You're not physically pouring the material. It's pouring it for you, which is pretty cool. I don't know if anybody in the chat knows about um, that particular system, but if you can tap that in the chat, that'd be cool. So we can let everybody know that about that. Hopefully I'll get that information and I can spin that out to you. Um, Surface scanning equipment. That's pretty cool to have nowadays too. New sanding block designs. You always got new cars, you got new shapes, and you got new materials. You got those new sanding blocks coming out too. Hey, we're all on the same boat, so hey, we're all gonna jump in and make that exciting turn with uh, technology and how it's changing the industry. So, but I thought that was pretty interesting. Yeah. So let's see what else we got here. There we go. Some of these blocks out of the way. I got blocks everywhere, which I like to play with a lot. Okay. All right. Okay. These tools, again, I'll say it every time and all the time. These tools does not replace skill. You always want to keep your skills sharp, keep moving forward, and understanding that hey, there's always a learning curve. So always be ready to make that turn, and don't be afraid of it. Skill is great. Skill is important, and it goes with all tools. Yeah. So, yeah. No skill in a tool makes for someone who's about to mess something up. So that's important. Yeah, yeah, these all of these things, they help technicians work more consistently. Think about the smartphones, you know, that helps people. That made a tremendous impact on everybody's daily life. Made it a whole lot easier, you know. Uh, Makes getting information around a whole lot quicker. They didn't, and the smartphones didn't replace communication. It enhanced it. We still have other ways of communicating, and we use those ways to communicate. Okay, they made communications faster. New sanding technology is doing the same thing for collision repair. It's making collision repair a lot faster. Okay, we already got the skill to make it great, but we're making it great a lot faster, which is pretty important. It's just very, very good to always elevate and innovate whatever you have. Okay. Let's talk about, because we're not gonna be here a whole long time. So I told our listeners the last time it's going to be like 35, 40 minutes. So we're gonna go through this pretty quick. You know, but yeah, if you ever get an opportunity, hey, leave anything in the chat, and we can chat it up for the next time. All right, let's talk about the next generation of technicians. Okay. Uh, the next generation isn't just learning how to repair cars. They also are learning efficiency. They're learning speed. Yeah, they're learning quality, technology, and customer expectations. Okay, that's what's happening with our new technicians. We make sure we want to and engrave them in all these areas. Because these are things that you're thinking about. Anytime I'm repairing and I'm painting a car, I'm thinking about efficiency, speed, quality, technology. Think about all those things because I want to bring all those things to the table. But I also want to understand, what is the customer expecting from my repair? What are they expecting? 90% of the time, they are expecting, you know, uh, their car to be exactly how it was prior to the accident, or better, because that car is part of their life, and part of their life is now damaged. So, you know, they want to get it back to pre-existing conditions. You know, because everybody wants to get back to how things were. And I want to get back, driving around, taking the family, you know, get back in their comfort zone, and they absolutely deserve that. Okay. Today's customers expect repairs that look factory perfect. All right, hands down, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly okay. The best technicians never stop improving. There's no really set stone where okay, I'm done. No, yeah, I thought I was at my max too. Yeah, yeah, that wasn't it. Yeah, I thought I shot up to another level that I didn't know existed actually. But you know, that's all part of the game. It's all part of the game. Okay, whether you're 17 years old or having been painting for 40 years, there's always something new to learn. Yeah, never be afraid to learn something new. And that's important. That's a very important thing. So I always try to better myself, try to better what I do, trying to learn, but always open up to new ideas, especially from the younger folks, the younger people. You'd be surprised how many great ideas that are generating around in those bright young minds. I always love listening to young people. They always bring a whole new, important, not just not only important, but a different eye of expectations to the game. So anytime I get a chance to listen to a young person, I love doing that. That's a lot of fun for me. Um, and let's talk about let's get past that. We're gonna move a little bit further. Let's talk about where Forest Grid fits in all of this. Okay, Forest Grid. you know, Force Grid, let's talk about innovation. Okay. Force Grid wasn't created to replace traditional sanding. Okay, because Force Grid is part of traditional sanding. It's just a little advanced. Okay, there's a little advanced piece of it. Yeah, and it's definitely gonna make its mark. It was created to give technicians another option. Yeah, why not? We always want more and better options. It's kind of, moves into the playing field and its own genre, and we do pretty good with introducing the product and getting the product to getting the information out there. Uh, Again, if you are new to all of this, we'll tell you what Force Grid is. Force Grid is a magnetically enhanced sanding block. We use magnetic stabilization to keep the block centered and flat on the panel while you're sanding. Yeah, you're not tipping that block. You're not twisting it. It's going to stay flat because it wants to 100% of the time. And so it automatically starts flattening regardless of uh, regardless of material, regardless of a lot of the things that go along with uh, repairing a panel. Wiping, rewiping. It's going to start flat and stay flat and finish flat. That's what it's designed to do. Yeah. And we want to make sure you all understand what's all comes with it. It's a bundle. It always comes as a bundle. It's just not one sanding block. It's a whole bundle of things, that comes part of the Force Grid experience. You get a small magnetic block, you get a medium magnetic block, and you get a large. And the small is, 4.5 inches long by 2.5 inches. And the medium is six inches long, 6 inches long. And the large is an eight-inch block right here. These are the sizes. These are the different sizes they come in, and they all come with the magnetic stabilization. All right, they all come with that. You turn that dial, and it adjusts the grit pull to the panel. And what that does is it maintains your stability on the panel. It keeps it flat, and also it uh, keeps you from having to change sandpapers throughout the time of the repair itself. You can use one sandpaper and it will fluctuate throughout the entire repair of that particular time. If you're working on Bondo, you can use one sandpaper during that Bondo experience. And when you go to primer, you can use one sandpaper throughout that primer experience. And then if you're doing any clear coat corrections, you can use that 2000, and that 2000 can be levied from close to 1,000 or 800 to close to, if you use 2,000, that's correct. You use 2,000, you can levy it all the way to close to 1,000 or 800, or you can go higher from using it from 2,000 to close to 2,800, close to 3,000. But if you get anywhere close to 3,000, we always advise you to use a 3,000 sandpaper. All right. 3,000 to 5,000, or even 8,000. We got 8,000 out there, which we haven't ventured into yet, but it's a pretty good range. Um, yeah. And and as far as that is, that's part of our preparation for our product. Helps technicians maintain better control, improve consistency, and create flatter repairs 3 times faster. Yeah, it's quick. It gets right to it. It doesn't play around. It's not waiting for anyone to decide how flat it's going to be. It's just going to automatically start flattening. And then you get to control it with the dial. The dial allows you to adjust it, turn it, um, you get to turn it, this dial right here, you turn this dial, you get to adjust the grit quality. Okay, you get to adjust it to where if it's on, which is 3 is the indicator of your uh, of the sandpaper that you're using. Like I say, if you're using a 500, you can turn this dial and increase it. You turn it counterclockwise, and what that's going to do is that's going to increase the grit power. Okay, it's going to allow that grit to cut harder, and it's going to take off more material, more like a 320, without the 320 scratches. That's the unique thing about that. You get to use a particular scratch pattern that's not increasingly hard to get out. You're using its own scratch pattern. And then also, since it has its own leveling dial here, then you turn it back the other way. You can turn it at 500 and have it more respond more like a 700. Okay, it's lighter then. You're just using the tip of the grain of that sandpaper right at that point because it has its own controlled leveling process. Okay, so that's the unique thing about the force grid. It's part of the preparation game, and it's kind of and we have a lot of our clients who really love it. They really love it because it's instantly, within minutes, your panel's flat. And, they get to move on to the next level. They're not waiting around. They're not grabbing some more Bondo. They're not, they're not re-priming because the first primer, you cut so much off, you don't cut through the primer. So, that's the unique thing about that. And but it's all good. It's all good. It comes with a bundle. The bundle comes with 10 plates. It also comes with the 10 plates are pretty unique. I don't have any in front of me right this moment, but the 10 plates work really well. And we use those 10 plates to attach behind the panel. You put the 10 plates behind the panel, okay? And then we use that for plastic and aluminum panels. We use that for plastic and aluminum panels. So that way you have metal stabilization, you have magnetic stabilization when you're using a panel that's not magnetic. We wanted to make sure we thought of everything about it. So we wanted to make sure that we had a clear understanding about that. And there we go. So, all right. Okay, we got a few more minutes and we want to kind of wrap things up here. Um, and let's see. Force Grit was designed to help reduce rework and improve sanding control while allowing technicians to use the techniques they already know. Okay, and that's what's great about that. Hold on just a moment for me. I'm going to make an adjustment over here. We are running a light. There we go. Okay. All right. Getting a little dark in here. The sun's going down here in Charleston, South Carolina. Yeah. We're on the East Coast. That's right. We're on the East Coast making a difference over here. Hello to everybody. Again, my name is David. I'm your host. Welcome to the Grit Zone. We talk about grit. Talk about grit a lot. So it's in the title. All right. Okay. All right. All right. Let's hear from you. Okay. Leave a chat. Tell me what you're thinking. It's all right. We're here to chop it up. We're gonna talk about things. We're gonna have conversations. Um, Feel free to ask questions. What new technology has made the biggest difference in your shop? There's a lot of different technologies out there. What made your shop stand out? What is it? What's there that you like? Okay. Uh, yeah. And do you think collision repair will become more automated? That's a big question. We got all these robots running around here now. You think it's robot? I don't see it. They'll game it up, but yeah, I don't see it. You got you know it takes a lot. It takes a lot to be a technician, and you need. I just don't see it. But you tell me what you think. You may already see it in shops. I don't know. We don't get around that much. What's one skill every new technician should learn first? One skill. Everybody got a favorite. Mine's body repair. I think every technician should learn that first. You know, what topic should we cover in the next Grit Zone Live? Hey, send in your suggestions. Let's talk about it. We're here to learn. We're here to figure things out. We're here to, go, and jump into this industry, and a lot of times they get in these podcasts and they're talking about stuff. We want to talk about what you want to talk about. Yeah, yeah, anything, yeah, if it's grit related. I mean, we'll go off topic sometimes, but that's okay. That's part of it. That's part of the process. Um, but we want to go ahead and wrap things up. And I appreciate everybody. I appreciate your time. Uh, Please leave a comment. Let us know what you're thinking. Please visit our website, www.forcedgritSanding.com. Check out the new innovation we have. Um, it's traveling to a lot of places right now. We got it in California, the Bronx, New York, Philadelphia, Texas, Florida, California, Nevada, um, Washington. Where else? We got Hawaii. Uh, Hello to my folks in Hawaii. Thank you for your purchase. Got it in North Carolina. Um, got it here in South Carolina. It's making its moves. It's making its way. And, we got a lot of technicians and they love it. They love it. They're not, and they say, uh, last block you ever buy. It's a really good product, and I think you'll enjoy it. Just keep tuning in. We got this weekend special. We got a special this weekend. It actually ends this weekend. It ends Saturday. So if you're thinking about it and you're on the fence, yeah, this is the best time to get it at a really, really, really good sales price. After this weekend, it's going back into the it's going back into the movement. It's going back where all the big guys are hanging out. So, take advantage of it. It's a really, really great system. It's a good bundle. It comes with everything you need. And, you know, the most important part is, hey, you make money real fast. The money you know, you spend, you make that back your first job. I mean, literally. I mean, but it helps so much when you're doing your repairs. Because the whole idea is to get the panel flat, and that's what it does. It's built for flatness. Yeah, it's going to flatten it within minutes, not hours. I've seen the videos. They take a long time to do a lot of repairing. But hey, that's what our innovation is for. We want to keep everybody moving forward. That's what we want to do. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us for episode 4 of the Grit Zone. Remember, tools will continue to change, materials will continue to evolve, and technology will keep moving forward. But one thing never changes: quality starts with proper surface prep. Okay. And our next episode, if I may say, our next episode, we'll be talking about, grit sequence. What grit sequence works for you? Okay, choosing the right grit, avoiding common sanding mistakes, sanding timeline without sacrificing quality, or not sanding timeline, saving time without sacrificing quality. You know, Possibly we'll be able to do a live demonstration and an audience Q&A. All right. Well, thanks a lot. Please visit us at www.forcedgrid.com and also subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can get the latest updates. And see, please learn, share, and get better. And please, subscribe. That what keeps us going. You all have a great day and a great night, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.